Hey, Tammy, thank you so much for joining me here on the Well and Worthy Life podcast. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day because I know you are super, super busy.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm honored. I'm happy to be here.
This is
We're
so
all happy to
fun.
be here right now, right? We're
Exactly.
happy to be here.
In this crazy, crazy time that we're in. I'm so sick of it. I'm tired of it, over it. Um, but gosh, how long ago did we meet? 2 or 3 years ago now. 2 years ago? 3 years ago? I don't know.
No, whose birthday was it?
It was Jody's birthday, and I can't remember how old she was. I was 2 or 3 years ago. Anyway, a friend of mine told me about you and said we had to. We were coming over to Atlanta to celebrate Jody's birthday, and said I had to meet you, and we had to take one of your classes, and at West Coast Workout. And guys, if you're ever in Atlanta, over in Buckhead, you've got to go to Tammy's place. But actually, now you can actually do it virtually. I work out with you virtually now, don't I, Tammy?
No, I love it. I love it so much.
So much fun.
You get up early too to do it.
I have to, yeah. But you know what I have found about that? So I have tried other type of virtual workouts, and I don't particularly like them, to be perfectly honest with you. But I love yours. I love yours for a couple of reasons, and I think we talked about this earlier. You spent a little bit of extra money to get the system right, the music and your voice being equal. Isn't that right? What
Right.
you said?
Yeah.
And so that makes a big difference. And you don't record these videos so that I could go back and do it later, which is probably pretty good because it makes me have that appointment with you, just like going to a live class. So that's kind of nice too, because otherwise, when I'm at home, I tend to put it off, especially, in COVID times. I get up in the morning, I get in my office and I start working, and I'm like, yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit. And then it's like, before I know it, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. So
That's why before anything else, we take care of ourselves
I
first.
know, I know. Well, and I'm big about the miracle morning. And in the miracle morning, the guy says exercise is one of the key things. And I do believe that because when I do exercise first thing in the morning, you're right, feel so much better. And it is taking care of ourselves.
Right.
And people feel like, what is it? They say, they never have enough time, right? Never have enough time to exercise.
Common excuse.
Yeah. So what do you tell people when they say that to you?
Do you have time to watch TV? Are you listening? Yeah, like I mean, people do that. They'll talk about these shows that they watch or these series or and I'm like, well, gosh, if
Yeah.
you have time to watch TV, if you have time to, talk on the phone to your friends and all of those things that we waste a lot of time doing,
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely fit it in. And I think people need to know that it doesn't have to be a lot of time. It has to be efficient, effective. It has to be intentional. And then it's really worthy. It gives you for the whole day. It sets your day up right. You've got energy. It's so much easier to focus when you've been physical and then you go to sit down.
Mm-hmm.
You can focus at your desk versus just antsy and fidgety, and I think it just sets the tone.
I think you're exactly right. I think it definitely sets the tone and gets your energy going. And I think that if somebody's like me, I end up sitting behind my computer a whole lot. That it's important to get up and move around after you've been sitting for a while too, because I think that's when you get these computers that we're working on today. I mean, they just drain you.
Yeah.
Before I had the podcast and the blog and all that, we've talked about this. I used to own a Pure Barre studio and I would teach Pure Barre. So I was up and about moving around all day long. I never sat behind the computer. I never sat at a desk all day long. And once I started doing that, when I sold my studio and I found myself working on my blog all the time, guess what? That's when I had an injury because that's when my back started bothering me so bad. And even the physical therapist said, yes, we see this a lot really in high school athletes because what happens, they've been active, then they go off to college and they're sitting there studying all the time, and so then they have problems with their backs and all kinds of different problems. So
Right. Yeah.
I have experienced that. But okay, let's get back to workouts. The most important things. So we met and I did your workout and I was just like, oh my gosh, I loved your workout. It was so efficient. It was so good. And I was like, it's just really no fair that Atlanta is just keeping you to themselves. That's just really not fair. But anyway, we have continued to stay in touch, and you have some restaurants in Atlanta, which are so wonderful too. Tell everybody a little bit about that too.
So it's a Cafe West Express, and they're just simple, easy, casual restaurants that are just made for people who are, very health conscious, who maybe are a little bit above just, just venturing into. Because I really started it because I didn't want to. I was so tired of fake health food.
Exactly.
It's time to get real here. So
Mhm.
it was a real wake up call to me when I moved to Atlanta, because people I asked, when you are new to a city, you're meeting people and you're asking, hey, where do you work out? What's the good gyms? Hey, where do you eat? Hey, where do you grocery shop? Where do you go? And so you're very you're open to all of these suggestions. And I remember when I first moved here from LA and I met my little core group of friends, they would send me different places and I'd be like, what? That is not a healthy restaurant. And I could tell, like, right when a minute I walk in the door, if there's pink and blue and yellow packets on the condiment, on the
Yeah.
table, and just certain things, just it's so easy for me to see right off the bat whether something's really healthy or whether it's just appearing to be healthy. You can taste it in the food once you hone in on your palate, and you really like kind of get away from the salts and the sugars and the sauces and things like that, and you taste the true essence of food and plants.
Mhm.
That's kind of where you really know that you've kind of taken it up a level, um, and that's kind of what the restaurants are about. Just kind of being tired of fakes. It's time to get real, and that's what we do. We serve real food, health food.
And it tastes very, very good. Very
It tastes
good.
very good.
It
Yes.
tastes very good. Because I think a lot of people think, oh, that really health food doesn't taste good. I think, honestly, I think people are getting better and better about it, but I still think there's so much fake health food. I mean, you go to the grocery store and you see that all the time. And then
Yeah.
even restaurants that say they're juice bars, and then you look at what all the juice is. I mean, it's not real. I mean,
And when did pizza become a health food? Yeah.
well, now they have the cauliflower crust. I mean, isn't that
Yeah.
healthy?
And I know. And all those other things that are in there.
Oh
You
gosh.
get like a bellyache when you're finished. You're like, oh, why does my stomach hurt? Yeah.
So tell us a little bit though about your journey, how you got started on your health journey, because your journey started way earlier than my journey, because we were talking about this the other day. So what made you decide this is the way I want to live, and when did you start this?
Well, I would just say it was just a kind of an awakening over time of, my parents were divorced when I was 3.
Mhm.
And when I was 5, I started, flying out to California. And my mom was in Chicago, my father in Los Angeles. And my father remarried. And, he married a like self-proclaimed health nut California girl. And she did all of the cooking, and she had us all participating as a family in the everything from what we were going to do, where we were going to eat. So we'd walk up to the farmers market. We get she'd say, go over there and pick out the best looking apples, or go over there and pick out the best looking lettuce you can. So she'd go back, no, that's not good, you see these brown spots. So we learned about like the food selection, And then we would come home and make a meal out of that. And, and everybody had to partake. It wasn't like the food was put in front of you. And I think that that was a really important part of just learning about food and learning about food preparation. That it's not all of a sudden I'm an adult. Oh my God, what am I going to eat? Well, I don't know how to cook. So I just eat out, I eat out, I eat out, right? So it got me involved in the cooking processes young, food selection young. And then just knowing the really key was the way that I would feel when I was living with my father was so different than the way I felt living with my mother. And I'm talking about, I love them both.
Right.
But I'm talking about pure feeling of feeling like energetic, excited, zestful, like enthusiasm, like, okay, what are we going to do for dinner? And okay, when are we going to the market? And, and now what am I going to make? What am I going to make with this? And just being excited about food, excited about the walk or the bike ride to the farmer's market, just the hiking, just the whole lifestyle there was so different than what it was when I was living with my mom in Chicago. And so what I correlated it to is what everybody would correlate to is, how do I feel? Like, what do I feel like every day? Am I tired? Am I this? Am I dragging? Am I upset? Am I moody? Am I this? And what's contributing to all of those factors? Why am I tired? Why don't I have the energy? Why am I moody? Why do I, why am I just not productive? All those things. I just really correlated to how I felt, and that I felt so much better living the lifestyle that my father, led, than
Right.
what was left for me at home. And so as a young girl, it just kind of got more eye-opening and more eye-opening as I watched my parents progress in age, and and I just knew that I wanted to live the lifestyle my father was living versus what my mom was living, and it got reinforced with watching their health patterns, because my mom had a lot of health issues, and my father's had none to minimal. And my dad's living his dream life, and my mom lives, as a divorced woman in pain, not real happy, and from all the suffering of physical, emotional, and all of those just kind of abuses that, she put on her body and on her emotions and on her mind. So
you've been able to see it firsthand, the difference, which I think is unusual. Most people haven't been able to see it firsthand like that.
yeah. Or even, I would say probably this. The one thing I'm super grateful for is actually being aware of it.
Right. Oh,
Like, right?
yeah.
Because some people just think, oh, well, that's my mom and that's my dad, and that's just, what it is.
Right.
But no, when you look, why is one person like this and why is another person like this? Well, we could talk about genetic factors, of course we could, but we can also talk about, conditions, and how they were conditioning themselves, and how well they adapt and learned, and just how mindful they are of their own behaviors. Because if you're not mindful and you're just repeating these patterns that cause damage to you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, if you're not aware of it, you're going to continue to do it. And you're going to continue to go, well, why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why am I not happy? Why does she have this? And why don't I have this? And, just all of those things. It's the awareness is super important, that you are aware of what's going on.
Yeah. And it's not just eating right. Eating right is a part of it, exercising, but it's all the other things too. Don't you think that the whole lifestyle? I mean, you can tell that somebody's happy versus somebody that is maybe a person that's more optimistic versus somebody who's not as optimistic. Think people that hold on and don't forgive or don't get past things, don't let things go, that affects our health too.
Yeah.
And we
One
can
of
even see that during COVID right now.
Yeah. Yes, how adaptable are people to that? And that really matters.
Hmm.
Some people, if, it'll rip them apart, just even small things, if it's tearing you apart, something goes off on the plan or off on the day, you've got to be resilient to it. You've got to figure out how to pivot from it and, you know, um, just pick yourself back up and go again. But my mom had a lot of anger from a lot of unsuccessful relationships. And she held that anger. She put the anger against all men, and not not taking responsibility for making the wrong selections.
I've been there.
And I would tell her, you know, um, Mom, the anger is a cancer.
Hmm.
It eats at you. It's
Hmm.
just eating you alive. You've got to release that.
Hmm.
It's a really bad thing to hold in anger and resentment. Really bad thing. So for different people, the release of that is going to require different strategies. But being aware again that ooh, that's I got to change.
Yeah.
I got to evolve. I
Yeah.
got to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talked about this the other day when we were on the phone that we're both about the same age. We're both 55. And you do look so much better. But I'm
No,
getting there. It's okay. I'm okay with that. I mean,
first off, Deanna, we don't compare.
I know. Well, that's true. That is true. We should
Yeah.
not compare. But I'm always curious because when I hit 50, I started getting this middle around, and I'd seen it in my clients at Pure Bar and had thought, I really honestly hadn't given it much thought. I just thought, I don't know. I don't know what I thought. They would be at Pure Bar every day and they'd work out and they'd still have it. And then once I sold my studio and I felt like I started getting this thing right around my middle. And I felt like it was like this inner tube, like somebody had blown up this inner tube. And I, I have dieted on and off throughout the years, just like a lot of people did, but never really had a weight problem. But I really felt bloated a lot
Mm-hmm.
during that time. I remember feeling that. And I really started getting serious about my health journey at that point, and changing up things in my diet, and I'd heard that when you hit about 50 you have to change things up some. Do you feel like you've had to change things up throughout the years?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've definitely had to change things up, and I'm always, um, as far as workouts and diets, I've never done diets. So when people start talking about all these different diets,
Mm-hmm.
that's not my gig. I mean, my thing is truly just, a lifestyle that works for people, that is healthy and evolutionary. Because for me, I feel the same with diet as I do with exercise, that we're never going to stop working on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to, if we're into growth, and we always looking to, we're not trying to achieve perfection, but we're always looking to grow ourselves, or grow our minds, grow our, maintain a body that we would like to have, and I mean a certain level of strength, and just all of those things. And even with diet, it's always tweaking this or tweaking that, or trying something new, or creating new recipes. I love stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've always, everything, people who have worked out with me for 15, 20 years, they'll say, why is this so damn hard? We've been doing this for 20 years. And I'm like, and they're like, why am I still sore? I'm like, it's this, I'm always sore from a workout. I always feel it. It's not like I'm not walking around where I'm half crippled, but I always know that my body worked out, and I feel that, and I like that. That's response. And that's from not doing the same thing over and over, where we're not getting any feedback from the body. There's no response, and there's also then no result. And so, the same thing is I'm always researching food, and always researching different things, and always creating and crafting new recipes around certain things. Right now, my big food is buckwheat. I just think buckwheat is awesome.
Really? What? Wow. What?
If you're my oven in the back, it's because I'm doing a pumpkin buckwheat bread, and I'll let you know how it turns out.
Oh, yeah.
Completely 100% buckwheat, has no gluten in it. It's so loaded with fiber, protein, and it's like massive in trace minerals like magnesium and iron, not copper, but uh, folate, B vitamins. It's so good for you. And so I'll let you know how it
Oh,
turns.
yes.
I may have to
So
go.
you're working on your own recipes and everything like that?
Oh, I always am doing that. I mean, that's I mean,
So
and
you
then
just learned that from cooking all these years. I mean, like if I went in my kitchen and started trying to work on a recipe, I mean,
yeah, I'll find a base recipe, of something that sounds good, but then it's never right, because it's
Mhm,
always got like sugar, flours, eggs. So I have to do all of this manipulation
mhm.
to create something that I want. So I start with that, and then I just tweak it and tweak it and tweak it until if it's good, and it's something I really want to get to mastery.
Uh-huh.
Um, I just keep reworking it until I get there. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I can't wait to hear. And if it's really good, you've got to share the recipe with all of us.
oh, sure. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you have tweaked everything throughout the years because you have to. Because I mean, as we get older and we age and we learn new things and everything else, I think that's the other thing is we continue to learn, right? I mean, we have to
And
continue.
grow. Yeah, you're always, yeah.
Mhm.
And it's if you do the same things and you don't tweak, you won't improve. And I always think that you'll actually regress, because you're not going to see results, you're not going to feel results, and it's that you need that reinforcement. You know how it is when you're like, oh gosh, I got to lose like 10 pounds, right?
Mhm.
And you're like, ugh, it's so hard to get going. But once you lose those first like 5, right, you're like, oh yes, and you're all motivated, and then
Oh, yeah.
then it's better, right? And everything's
Right.
better and it's easier. And then the work is keeping it off, right? Not going back to the old habits. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, I do believe some people in 2020 thrived, and some people just were able to survive. They could, and they ended up putting on weight, and they now getting ready 2021, and they've got to decide, hey, it's time to do something different.
everybody should be deciding that, like
Mhm.
right now.
I
Yes,
agree. Yeah, yeah.
because your health is the most important. It is just your most important commodity. That's all it is. You take your health away and you've got nothing. I don't care what it is. There's people fighting every moment to have health, and not a penny in the world could buy it. So it's your best and biggest investment.
And, so talking about that, we still have COVID going on and we will still have it going on for a while. People are so worried about it. They're wearing the mask and they're doing all the things. But if we eat correctly, we can build our immune system so that we're stronger.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
You've got vitamins and minerals in your body. I'm gonna have to get my bread now, so I'm gonna have to
that's
take some
okay.
water.
Good. We'll get to
Um,
see it.
the vitamins and the minerals in the body, and having all of that, and turn it off. Oh, it looks so good.
Oh, yay.
I'll have to show you in a little bit. Okay, but and D, very important.
Yes.
Vitamin C, very important. Zinc, very important.
Mhm.
And people I think also make a mistake if they think that and they take a vitamin or they take a pill, that they're fine, or a multivitamin of some sort. Those are kind of little insurances, but nothing can compare to the way that your body recognizes food
Mhm.
and metabolizes food.
Mhm.
And then it's if you just eat right, it changes your whole blueprint. I always have said, when I do my Live Your Healthiest Life seminar, that food, we have made it. It's like entertainment. It's like its own industry of entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay, so much is put into restaurant design, and all of this stuff, and And then we think that of food as entertaining ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not the way the body looks at food. The body looks at food, it's science.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that you put in your mouth reacts with your DNA. And so I always have said, take a real good hard think before you dip your DNA in a donut, because that's, it's one of the worst sins. It just completely, science tells us that we can change our DNA, that we might have a cancer gene or we might have a gene for cancer. That doesn't mean we're going to get cancer, because we can turn off those cells and we
Mm-hmm.
can keep them from reproducing in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's when we feed those cells, and we have stress and we, feed sugar and dairy and all of these different things that, help cancer cells thrive. We can get ourselves into deep trouble, and so, just very important to be aware that food isn't entertainment, that it's really for your body. It is science.
It's fuel. I mean, it's just like, I mean, you got to put the right fuel in your body. If you don't put it's just like if your car, if you didn't put the right fuel in it, your car would break down.
Right.
And same thing with our bodies, that we have to put the right fuel in it. I mean, I'm not perfect, I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, but I think I'm on my journey to being, and I'm more aware, which makes me crave healthier foods
Right.
rather than craving the stuff like the pizza and the donuts. There was a time in my life that I could eat so many donuts. Oh, it was bad. And I drank Diet Coke like it was that. I mean, like, I look back how far I've come. I'm
Right.
not, that's great, Deanna. I
That's
mean, and
fantastic.
I still have a long way to go, but that's okay. I want to have a long way to go so that I can live a long time.
I would say exactly the same thing. People would look at me and they'd say, "What?" And I'd say, "No, I still have a long way to go." Do you think I just wake up and I'm like, "Oh, I'm perfect. I don't have to do anything." No, not
Right.
at all. Like furthest from my, I just want to live like this, like, all the way until I don't live anymore.
Yeah.
I really, for me, that is so important. Like, to have the energy, the zest, to be able to be with my grandkids and, travel with them and not be limited because my body is, just broken. And that's not worth it for me. A future is worth it for me. So, yeah,
Yeah, I feel the same way. So, okay, let's talk about your grandchildren. How many grandchildren do you have?
I have two,
Two. How old are they now?
3, 6.
Oh, they so
You?
fun. Where do they live?
Yeah, but they're in Denver. I
That's,
know. It's far away.
yeah.
So I have not seen them with COVID. My daughter came in the summer, and it's been a long time. It's
Mhm.
been the worst for COVID for me, because that's been the worst thing, is just that I haven't seen my kids, and my grandkids like I typically would.
Mhm.
The best thing is that no one's gotten it and everybody's healthy. So
Oh, that is good. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. That's very
So
good. Yeah.
upside.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. So, how did you get to Atlanta? So you grew up between Chicago and LA, and then how did you get to Atlanta?
So I was in LA, and I was in Hollywood. I was doing a lot of Hollywood training. So training for movie stars as they were, working for red carpet moments or next auditions, transformations. I was very involved with that, with an incredible woman who owned a small little resort outside of Ojai Valley, and she also owned one in Palm Springs.
Mhm.
And so I was very involved in that, and then I met a one of the women that I was servicing set me up with someone, and he was in the Navy, and I met this Navy officer and fell whooping head over heels with him, and then I got pregnant, and that's a no-no when you're in the business I was in. So you can't really perform at a Hollywood level when you're pregnant, because what I was hired to do was to be with clients basically all day. Although I was alternating clients because they would go on a hike with me,
Mhm.
I get another client and I was doing something else with that client, whether it was teaching them, some exercises that they could do for specific areas of the body, or we were doing yoga, or we were doing strength training, or we were doing meditation. It was always something different, but I basically worked all day, every day, and was required to do very vigorous things. So I just basically didn't tell anyone for the longest time until, at that point I was very thin, just because of the way my job was and being in the Hollywood, elitist group.
Mhm.
um, you would imagine that you'd have to look,
Certain
somewhat
way.
good, right? So I certainly couldn't be chubby, and that started to show, and I started to feel the fatigue, and I had to talk to my boss, and my dad, he was in real estate here in Atlanta, and just kept saying, hey, you really need to get a house, and you're not going to get a house, and you have a child, you're going to keep living from apartment and paycheck to paycheck in California.
Mhm.
So I didn't care. I wanted to be in California, and every time I go to my apartment and something, would be going on, I'd be like, it would be really nice to have a house. So anyway, that's really how I got involved. My dad said, hey, he was in real estate, so he found a home here, and said, look, I can get it for a really great price, and you can buy it, and I'll help you buy it. And so I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And so then did
And
you
I
start?
hated it. Oh my
Oh,
God.
you did?
I hated it so much.
Big
I was like,
difference from
I love the
LA.
house. I was like, oh, if this house could just be in LA, if it could just be in the Hollywood Hills, why is that? Why am I not there?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So then what made you like it finally?
I just, I didn't for about 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. For about 10 years. But I was so busy raising my daughter. Like, I mean, there was so many times I would just be like, oh gosh, I just don't like it here. And the little group of friends that I found, that they would tell me things, and they'd say, yeah, work out here and go eat here. And I was like, I just realized that, oh my gosh, all the things that when I went to go visit, that I said, I don't like that workout. They're doing that all backwards. I don't like the way that workout makes me feel. I don't like that food, but I ate it anyway, and I just became numb. I just became numb to it. I was just like, well, this is what my life is here, and this is what it is. And then I kind of just stopped thinking about it, and I was doing it. And it was really one evening that I was sitting at the dinner table with my husband,
Hmm.
and I'm remarried, so I should make that clear. But I'm sitting at that. I had been divorced now. I had the kid. The kid was 5, um, and then I'm sitting at the dinner table with my husband. And if anybody knew my husband, like, everybody calls him at the studio and the cafes. His nickname is everybody's favorite husband, because he's so kind, right? He'd do anything for you. But we were sitting there, and I was doing something, and he said, Tammy, your biceps. And I was like, he goes, Guy, your biceps have gotten so big. They're like scary. Okay, my husband would never say that. Never. But he was like, I mean, it really, like, he was like, whoa, and I looked, I think I took a hard look at myself in the mirror at that point and said, what the hell am I doing? And like, what am I doing? Like, I don't, and then I just, that he would say that to me.
Hmm.
And that, not that I was mad at him, he was doing, he was doing me a favor. It was like a wake up, like, hey, and I knew I didn't feel my best, but I just, like, had accepted it. So I kept asking myself, what am I doing? Like, and then I'd go to my training session, and I'd be like, why am I doing this? Like, I know better than this. So I sat down with my husband and I said, when you told me that, I think it really affected me in the way that I know I've got to change everything. I'm like really unhappy. I'm unhappy with myself. I'm unhappy with my body. I'm unhappy with my diet. I'm actually thinking I'm unhappy with my marriage, and I'm married to the nicest man in the world. So there's something wrong with me because
Mhm.
it's definitely not you. And I
Mhm.
totally took responsibility for it.
Mhm.
And I said, I think what I got to do is I've got to go back and get myself back to where I was when I moved here from LA. I need like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to kind of get back with my little people, get back with all my friends from LA, and then I organized that.
Mhm. Were you
And
working at the time?
I was working, but I had vacation, and I thought, you know what, I'll take like 2 weeks of it. I'll take it off, and I'm going to just go and really kind of pull myself together and take 2 weeks for myself.
Mhm.
So I went out to California, and at the time, this is very interesting. Bob Harper was a really good friend of mine. Do you know? Does that ring a bell to you?
I feel like it should, but I'm not sure. Go ahead, tell
So
me.
Bob Harper was one of my trainer friends, and he
Oh,
was at Barry's boot camp,
yeah.
and he was the first on The Biggest Loser. He was
Yes.
the first pick, but he wasn't famous at this time. Okay, he was just famous with us little LA people who was in his little cult. And so I went to him and I said, and he said, "How's your life out, in the South?" Because he's from Tennessee.
Oh,
And
okay.
he said, "I miss the South so much." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I hate the South. Look at it's taken over me. The whole South is taken over my body, my food, my everything." I'm like, "That's why I'm here. I just got to get it together." And he's like, "Well, what is the problem?" And I said, "Okay, everywhere I want to work out, they don't have it. They don't have anything like what I was doing, in California. They don't do nobody does anything like I was trained to train. And so therefore look at my body. And there are no restaurants. They eat biscuits and gravy and grits. And they do this and that, and it's like cheese on everything, and you know all of that. And then they don't have like juice bars or anything like that. It's like the food sucks. And he looked at me and he said, "Are you done?" And I'm like, "Done? No. There's no sidewalks, there's no parks, there's no this. It's ridiculous. They built a whole freaking city with no parks or sidewalks or green space. I can't even take my baby in the stroller. People like beep and honk at me." And he's like, "Are you done?" And I'm like, "No." And I probably named off a few more things, but he goes, "So, wow, you've got a lot of excuses."
Wow.
And I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you got so many excuses. That might be the most I've ever heard, of why you're not doing what you know you should be doing." And, just kind of like when my husband said the thing with the biceps, it was like his words really clicked with me and said, "Wow, I am full of a bunch of excuses, aren't I? Oh, but they don't have any juice bars. Oh, but they don't have this. But they don't have the workout studios. But they don't have this." On the flight home is when I wrote the business plan for
Oh,
West Coast Workout.
wow.
The 4.5 hour flight home, I wrote the whole business plan. I said, "Well, as soon as I get home, as soon as I can, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to start my business. I'm going to call it West Coast Workout. I hope no one's taken that name. And I'm going to do this, this, and this." I opened my own juice bar. It's open 24/7. It's in my kitchen. I bought a juicer. And it's like, oh my God, I completely transformed my life.
Mhm.
Opened the studio, and it never stopped there. I'm just like, I can't live in California right now. My husband is from Mississippi, didn't want to move to California.
Mhm.
Um, at that time, we didn't really have the means to be doing all of that. So I just said, well, I'll bring it here. I'll bring everything I love about California to Atlanta, and I'll start building it that way. And I have. So there's West Coast Workout, and there's Cafe West Express. And
There you
would you
go.
like to see my juice bar? It's right there in my
Yeah.
kitchen.
Oh my God.
24/7.
That is
Yeah.
that I mean, that is a great story. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Because
So
and it goes back just I mean, like it is excuses when people tell you, I can't do this because of this, I can't do it because of that. Yes, you can. You just have to
yeah.
figure out your way to do it. So, talking about your workouts, because your workouts are so different. And I keep hearing this, and I wanted to ask you about this. I keep hearing strength training for women, strength training for women. See, I'm like you. If I work out with really heavy weights, or I remember years ago when I worked out with a personal trainer, I got bulky. It's like not the kind of look I want. I want long, lean body.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what do when somebody, I know if they can't come to come, do your workouts, they can do it virtual now. But what do you recommend? Do you recommend people work out with the heavy weights or strength training? What do you think about strength training?
Okay. Well, strength training has all kinds of definitions. So strength training is what I do in a
Right.
different form. Okay. Weight bearing is your body is weight bearing. If you do squats, that's a weight bearing exercise. You don't have to have weights in your hands to do squats. So if you do lunges, same thing, and a lot of the different things that I do really focus on using the body in uniformity. So when you start isolating muscles, what you cause is a lot of muscular imbalances, a lot of body dysfunction. And you also, those lead to pain, those lead to back issues and all kinds of other issues. So it's the way that you move that matters.
Mm-hmm.
For some women, they love strength training. So who am I to say, oh my God, your biceps are huge? She might love her biceps like
Right.
that. Right. Have you flipped on Instagram lately? Oh my, it seems like the women all in COVID have gotten into bodybuilding or something. And like, I see the women all in these short shorts showing off,
Yeah.
the biggest weights that they could master. And, they're trying to build their bums. I've always been trying to get mine smaller. So I don't know, like,
Is that the truth? I'm not, I've like looked at some of that. Wow,
yeah, yeah.
crazy.
So, but I'll tell you, my training just came from such a different perspective of, if you look at Hollywood bodies,
Mhm.
they are not, if you look at that body, male and female, unless you're talking about The Rock or Schwarzenegger, or the Hulk guy, um, Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah.
There you go. None of them, they are very small. They're very lean,
Mhm.
and they're full of contours and lines in their bodies. Their bodies are not morphed into something that looks different. Um, it looks like a healthy, fit body,
Mhm.
really very authentic and beautiful. I don't know the last time you saw a woman on the red carpet with, mass amounts of muscle, it's just, that's not their look. It's
Mhm.
not what they're going for. And that's just where my visual and my training came from,
Mhm.
was from that appearance of not trying to build the body, but beautify the body,
Mhm.
so that it's almost the perfect definition is, a woman looks deceptively fit, because a man, if you're into men, they
Mhm.
don't want to go to be in bed with another man,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They're into women.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not saying, like, I'm just simply saying that, you know, a woman has a feminine
Mhm.
sculpture and structure that a man is very attracted to.
Mhm.
Um, and we don't move like men. We don't want the same body. We don't want the same things. We don't walk like them. We shouldn't train like them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I don't want to do what the guys do in the gym. You
Right.
know, it's not, you know, I would, if I always say, if you feel like a man doing it, well, it's probably going to make you look more like one. So, you know, if, unless you like that thing, so I don't want to downplay anything because, you know, some people do like that and, you know, it makes them feel very strong. But I like a little body fat. I think it's a little jiggles cute and sexy. And um, I don't want to have, you know, zero body fat. And, you know, I'm too not trying to achieve perfection, but I definitely want to feel good in my body. And I definitely want to feel feminine. And I definitely want to feel confident. And, you know, I can understand my husband's theory of, you know, not wanting to be next to a brick, you know. So
Right, right. No,
I'll
and
look over and be like, "What's that?
like
Is
exactly.
that a thigh or is that her arm?"
Well, and I definitely think I love the terms that you use about sculpting your body, and the whole time you're teaching and what you're how you are conveying. It's not like push through this and let's go here. It's like I hate, that's just for me, but there are a lot of people who like that type of exercise, so that works for them. And I think in all honesty, and I think you would say this too, I mean, the biggest thing is everybody has to find what they like, right? And that's the way they're going to do it.
Yeah. But also, I would say one more thing about that. Okay, find what you like and do that, but don't just do what you like because if you just do what you like, you'll never grow.
That's
So,
true.
you
So
know, sometimes I'll say to my clients, you know, I know you don't like this, but guess what? We're going to do it because it's going to make you so strong and you're going to love the results. So, yeah.
well, and the
Uh,
other thing you do is a lot of functional movements, a lot of twisting, things that we use in everyday life. That's one of the things that I love about what you do. It's like real moves.
definitely. And I wouldn't do anything but, you know, just because that keeps the body healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Tammy, I could talk to you forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, come on, come to Atlanta. There's a
uh,
house for
but
sale. Never a house for sale, Deanna. There's never a house for sale in here, and there's
uh-huh.
one for sale.
I
So
could buy it and then live next
yeah,
door.
you could have a second home right here. We could walk to the cafe, and we could walk to West Coast Workout.
Can you walk to all that from where you
I
live?
can, except for my West Side.
Oh, how
Built it that way. Look, I built it that way. When you live in California,
yeah.
you have to love your neighborhood.
Mhm.
Look, you've got to build your life, right? You have to make it happen. Yeah.
Mhm.
You have to build your dream and just make it happen. And you know, one thing that I learned at my 50th birthday, I went to Thailand, and I was in a very transformational space, and I was trying to make a very large decision.
Mhm.
And it was a business decision. It was whether I was going to open a restaurant or not, you know.
Mhm.
And I had done all the work, and I had done everything, and I had launched it inside my studios first.
Right.
But for some reason, you know, everybody was telling me, you know, oh my God, are you crazy? You're going to open a restaurant? You know, that's the worst. That's the hardest. That's the, you know, blah, blah, blah. 90% of the restaurants fail, blah, 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 but you're going to do it. And I just was like, am I doing this or am I not doing this? And I couldn't get crystal clear on it. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get on a plane. I'm going to fly halfway around the world. I'm not going to hear anybody's voice there. No one's going to tell me what I should do.
Yeah.
I'm going to only hear my own. I'm going to do things I've never done. I'm going to do Tai Chi. I'm going to do Qigong. I'm going to sit and meditate. I'm going to do this whole transformational um, mind, body, soul detoxification. I signed up for 2 weeks, and a couple days into it, I started meeting a couple people. And it's not really like a group thing. It's an individual thing that you're going through. Although you were in you know in other people's companies, I would say. Um, and I said, they were talking about someone that they had met who was a former monk and had met a woman. So he came out of being a monk and married this woman. And now he does all of this coaching and training around the world. And so I sat with him because they said he's so great at kind of putting you in these semi-meditative states and really working through your thoughts and your feelings and anything you might be going through. And I thought, well, maybe because I went there seeking,
Right.
right? And it's like if I just sit and meditate, it's gonna come to me. Well, I didn't. Like 3 days, I'm like, it's not coming. Nothing's coming. Nothing's working. You know, it's like 3 days of meditating and I don't like it and I don't know, it's not working. And and I'm getting like, I'm only here for 14 days and, I haven't accomplished anything. So I thought, okay, I'll do this. I'll make this appointment. I'll talk through this with him. So just to make this very short, he basically sat with me and my whole goal, I did it for 3 days. And my whole goal was like, I was so embarrassed because I would just start bawling. And I'm like, I have no idea why I'm crying. I'm not sad. It's just like, and he's like, because you have all this and you need to release it. And I'm like, but you're asking me things. And it's like, I answer these things like, think of someone I love and then hold them in my hand. And then think about the characters I love. And I'm like, whoa, why am I crying? This is so dumb. And I'm like, and he's like, because you're still holding on to a lot of things. So anyway, the bottom line is after the third day of that, I tried 3 days of meditation. That didn't work. I sat there 3 days with him. And I said, I told him why I was there. I said, I'm here to talk to you because I cannot get crystal clear on something. And the crystal clarity I need to make this decision. I need to be crystal because this is a very large decision. Am I opening a restaurant or am I not opening a restaurant? Am I just keeping it where it is? Or am I making this giant leap into a very unknown territory? And the answer was this. He said, after the third session, he said, okay, so you know what? I think what you should do is I think you should just go back and tell the people that you're no longer going to provide them food and juice and, all of your delicious things that you make. You're just going to stay with the training and you'll just, you could talk to them about the food like you always have and whatever. And you'll just go back and tell them. And so how would that feel? And I said, yeah, I could do that. That'd be fine. And he goes, so what would happen if you went back and do that? And you did that. You go back and you do that. And I said, I guess the biggest thing is that I think I might regret that I didn't go for it, that I'm afraid of it because it's an unknown territory. And I'm afraid that I regret that I didn't take that step because fear paralyzed me. And, and he said, oh, well, there you go. You can get on the next plane, go home. You got a lot of work to do. Go open that restaurant. Because the Buddhist way is that you don't ever live life with regret. So you have to look at a big decision that you're going to make and ask yourself, what would happen if I don't do it? Right? And if the answer is, if I didn't just go for it, would I regret that decision? So that to me is now my way. That just changed everything for me.
Oh, I love that.
So that's where I always ask myself, if I'm making a decision about something, it's like, would I regret that I didn't do it? And if I can easily say no, it's like, okay, bye-bye, hell no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. It's easy, that's easy decision making. When you start like, okay, wait, and you're kind of like, you're waiting for that crystal clear, but the crystal clear maybe isn't there, then you can ask yourself that decision or ask yourself that question. Like, what would happen if I don't do this? How would I feel about that 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Or am I going to regret that I didn't try? Because failures,
you learn a lot when you fail. I mean, you learn.
Right. You can't be afraid of that. Failure is lessons, growth. Not taking risks is no successful entrepreneur ever will be in that space.
Right.
Everybody, being an entrepreneur requires a lot of risk taking, a lot of failures, but it's a really good thing. It's like, yeah.
But even in life, I think even if they're not an entrepreneur, I think that creating your life, even like you better, you don't want to have any regrets that you haven't lived your life to the fullest, right?
Totally, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. That was a game changer for me.
Yeah. I love that. Okay, I think that's a good place for us to wrap up this podcast. But thank you, Tammy, so much. I really appreciate it. Tell everybody where they can find you. West Coast Workout. Um, that's on Instagram. You're on West Coast. Do you have a personal Instagram, or you post all your stuff on West Coast
No,
Workout?
because I wouldn't do personal stuff. I wouldn't even do it if I didn't have to.
Time. Yeah.
I'm not a big social media person, but I do pay attention. So, it's at West Coast Workout and at Cafe West Express.
Yes. And if you are in Atlanta, but even if you're not even in Atlanta, we'll put in the show notes her website to West Coast Workout. And on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, she has virtual workouts. And because it's just those days, right? Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays.
Right. But soon we'll have an on-demand library. I'm not able to launch that just yet.
Yeah. I'm so excited about that. Yay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Tammy. I really appreciate you being here with me and taking the time out of your busy, busy schedule. It really means a lot.
Thank you so much.
So y'all, okay, if you like this episode, please share it with everybody. If you share it on social media, go ahead and tag me, Deanna, at Well and Worthy Life, and Tammy at West Coast Workout. And y'all have an awesome day.